Welcome in, everybody. Fifth quarter extra. Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathangani joining you to recap a very exciting night of the high school football season. Round 2 action, guys. So many local teams in action tonight, Gerhard. It was so exciting to have teams going to the Birmingham area, going to Dothan, just all over the state as they look to try to punch their ticket to the quarterfinals.
I think at this time of the year, everything gets a little bit more heightened, mainly because the margins of error are just so razor thin between these teams. And it comes down to, a huge play on special teams. It comes to a big defensive stop. It comes to a field goal. These are the small margins of error that these teams have in order to punch their ticket to the next round. A lot of them did tonight, and we're so proud of them.
Yeah, we definitely are. We're going to start with our one and only team in 7A, Baker. But guys, hang with us tonight on Fifth Quarter Extra. We are going to go through the gauntlet from 7A all the way to 1A. All of our local teams in action tonight. Highlights and scores, we've got them for you, and some plenty of previews for round 3 as well. Let's head over to the Wiregrass, where Baker and Enterprise went head-to-head, Gerhard.
Yeah, this is a game where Baker last week won the first playoff game in 40 years. You were wondering how much of exactly. You were wondering just how much of that would hang over into this week and maybe an emotional high going into this week against Enterprise. Well, you didn't really see a whole lot of that early on. They were focused. They were ready. However, Enterprise got off some big plays early on. This is late in the first quarter. Enterprise being able to get on the board first. Eric Winters, a phenomenal basketball player for Enterprise, helped them win a state championship not that long ago. Their hits Mason Burkhart for the touchdown, and so the Wildcats get on the board first. It was big plays here by the Wildcat defense. Also, the Baker defense coming up with big plays as well. Into the second quarter, it is a 10-0 lead, and then they just start firing the ball around. They start to pick a little bit of the Baker secondary apart, but this is a shout-out to Coach Blackman and company. They couldn't really run the ball all that well, so they started throwing the football, and were able to get into field goal range. But shout-out to the Baker defense, held them to a field goal there, 13-0 at the half. And great showing by Juan Johnson's crew. This is them, nothing to hang their hats about for tonight's effort. But Coach Ben Blackman and company, they were able to get the big win. Coach Blackman, people know him around in the Gulf Coast area from his time there at Spanish Fort. But I mean, it's one of those situations where I think Baker has so much to be proud of.
Oh, yeah.
Historic season.
Absolutely.
But it's Enterprise that got the win 30-14.
Yeah, no question. And we had known that historically that 7A Region 1 has not had a ton of success as of late. They're in the playoffs. Last year, it was MGM advancing to the semifinals. Zach Golson has really built an impressive thing over there in Sims with MGM. Baker, a first-year head coach in Juan Johnson. So, all of the love to the Hornets, what they were able to do, totally learning a new system with a sophomore quarterback. Guys, the sky is the limit for this Baker Hornet squad under Juan Johnson. They really got tempo going when it comes to offense, and the defense is strong late in the season as well. And so they were, just inches away from a region title, which is a huge,
That's a good point.
It's been a minute since Baker has been that close to winning a region title, 40 years since they won a playoff game. And so all of the love to the Baker Hornets and to Juan Johnson, what they were able to accomplish this year.
I think when we did 33 teams in 33 days, it's a spring football special. He was one of the first guys that we talked to. And of course, one of the questions is to a first-time head coach is, how do you want this team to be remembered? How do you lay the foundation? Well, he showed it to you not only on the field, but in the community as well. They wanted to run a fast, up-tempo style of offense. However, keep that physicality on defense. We saw that all season long. This is certainly something to build on. Great observation, though. Tate Graham, young quarterback, a lot of good players.
He's really good.
Exactly. A lot of senior guys who helped lay the foundation with this team. So hat tip to Coach Juan Johnson, I think, doing exactly what he wanted to do in year 1.
For sure. If you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathangani, Pat O'Donnell working the producer booth for us right now. Guys, we just had a fantastic show, Fifth Quarter Extra. I want to give a shout out to all of the people behind the scenes here on our show who make Friday nights so special and so incredibly good. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. You don't even know how blessed you are here on the Gulf Coast with how good this show is and how many people work on this show. We are so excited to bring it to you. Now, here, Fifth Quarter Extra, we're going to go over some of our teams that punched their ticket to the quarterfinals. We have Saraland headed to round 3. In 5A, we have a couple of teams, and maybe not the two that you would have picked at the beginning of the season, or maybe at the beginning of this day even. A couple in 4A, some in 3A. And so we certainly are excited for round 3. We're going to keep things moving here over at Saraland. Saraland, where, man, I swear this is the most well-oiled machine in the state. McAdory, a proud program, of course, home of Bo Jackson. Everybody would know that. But guess what? Saraland's home of this guy. His name's KJ Lacey. He's going to be having a statue, too. Okay, I'm not trying to put all that on him right now. Bo Jackson is Bo Jackson. But, guys, here's the deal. KJ Lacey, CD Gill, touchdown, 7-0, no problem. Saraland rolling early on. Well, how about this throw? I'm going to replay this at least twice. Okay, do you see this throw by KJ Lacey? He throws it up effortlessly. Then CD Gill comes down with an unbelievable catch. Let's play this back. Okay,
Unreal.
Watch this throw by KJ Lacey. You guys, Texas commit. He just flings this like, okay, good luck. Catch that one. CD Gill able to stay in bounds. We can pause this, right? Okay, yeah, here we go. Check this out, you guys. He's able to stay in bounds. Somehow. I don't even know how. I mean, it's 14-0 at that point, Gerhard. Unbelievable.
I think if you're grading it, which was better, the pass or the catch, you almost have to tie a 12 out of 10 on both. Yeah. But he has so many reps. He went to the Elite 11. He's just worked on his arm so much. He's already one of the best quarterbacks in the state, but he's trying to get better every single game, every single week. And, and it's obviously it's working out for him.
Yeah, and then let's give love to the ground game, too. Let's run this back. We don't want to not talk about the other weapons that Jeff Kelly and company have. How about the offensive line? And none other than Sante McWilliams Jr. breaking loose. I mean, the guy about got knocked down, stays on his feet, keeps his balance. Into pager he goes. It's 21-0 at that point, G. Then the special teams, they're doing it in all 3 phases. I feel like Saraland's like 7 phases just themselves. I mean, they will not leave you alone. Nobody wants to play. I would not want to play this team. So they block the punt there. Jeff says, "Run it up, guys." Okay, then we give it back to he don't care. Give it back to Sante. I'm trying to get some stats on this thing. No, okay, so there we go. Saraland absolutely dominates this game. What was the final? A lot to not very much.
49-14.
And those 14 points by the Yellow Jackets were probably garbage time.
Yeah, it's probably garbage time points. Yeah. But the word complementary football comes to mind. The words complementary football. You saw there in the special teams. Special teams blocks the punt and sets the offense, a lethal offense that can score from anywhere. Yeah. At the inside the 20-yard line, they go on and punch it in. This is a team that's so great on the defensive line with Antonio Coleman, so great in the running game. You mentioned Sante McWilliams, so great in the trenches. Their outside receivers are dangerous as well with C.D. Gill, Deshaun Spencer, and others. And then when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, it's such a lethal weapon because you can't run, you can't play it to stop the run, you can't play it to stop the pass, and you can't run on them or throw on them either. It's such a tough team to beat, and they're rolling on to the 3rd round.
And I do want to give a hat tip to the Saraland coaching staff and to Jeff Kelly because I think a lot of times you do have that Saraland exhaust, and that's like that's a credit to Saraland. A lot of people they're always going to be there, right? Last year they won a red map. The year before that they won their first ever blue map. Jeff Kelly's been there for like 15 years, it seems like. And this is a guy who he does have a ton of talent in the world, certainly. However, you still have to develop those guys. You still have to get everybody to mesh in the locker room. You have so much talent. You have a guy who's playing backup quarterback right now who would be a starting quarterback on about every other varsity team on the Gulf Coast.
No doubt.
And he's happy. He's right there. He knows his time is coming, and he's learning under KJ Lacey, who's going to go play football at Texas. Right. And so give credit to Jeff Kelly, how he's able to manage his roster and his locker room. And they're on to round 3, and they have not had a hiccup at all. Knock on wood, because Spain Park is next.
That's right.
And I would say Saraland, if I had to just put a number on it, I'd give him like a 3-touchdown favorite in this game. I'm just going to say. Okay, you know what? Go ahead. I know. And I have all love in the world for Tim Bakakis and the Jags. Yeah. They're probably going to put that up on some wall or something like that. But
I gave him bulletin board material.
I mean, what would you, if you had to put a line on it in your game?
In that same realm. 21, 24 points.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm just blowing smoke. It's the truth.
And to your point, I wanted to make sure mention one point. Because you talked about all the physical stuff. Yeah. They have a really great team. Honestly, Simone, I think one of the biggest things is between the ears because it is easy for a team as talented as Saraland to sleepwalk through this part of the season, knowing just how good they are. Of course, next week, everybody will be on high alert for the Spain Park Jaguars. Sure. Obviously, having a top 5 football team. But this is a team that not only has been able to get it done on the field, but they also know what it takes to get it done mentally, and they're showing that each week. It's totally true, and that game will be at Saraland, so in the friendly confines of Spartan Stadium there, and you know it's going to be wild and excited as they look to punch their ticket. They will play the winner of Pike Road and Hueytown, 2 teams that tonight gave a big L to a couple of our local programs in 6A. Let's head up to the Birmingham area where Spanish Fort traveled up to play Hueytown. Gerhard, Aiden Schamberger here, under center. Yeah, this is I should say. Yeah, this is a team that we knew Spanish Fort, big win last week, had a battle, went toe-to-toe with Benjamin Russell, and we knew what kind of offense they can bring each week, and it was, hey, can you replicate it now on the road? A long road trip, 4 hours away, but Aiden Schamberger there gets it done early on, and then the Gophers answer right back. This is a tough football team that likes to run the football, that plays a physical brand of football. And Coach Chase Smith, he knew what his guys were going up against in a really good Hueytown squad. But all the big playmakers really got it done for Hueytown tonight. And this is obviously the home of Jameis Winston. They put a lot of players on the college level as well. And so shout out to Spanish Fort.
And
but it's the Gophers.
I think I went down to the wire. Right? 21-14 was the final score in that game. Yeah, and so I think it just speaks to the talent that you have statewide in 6A. I think that is absolutely the elite classification of high school football from top to bottom. When you just think about just really top to bottom, how good these regions are all throughout. You have teams that are the 4 seed that go. I mean, like McGill-Tulane did, going to Spain Park and really putting it on Spain Park in round 1. I mean, the Yellow Jackets were this close to coming back with a win. They led it by double digits in the second half. And so not only in 6A Region 1, which I think is by far the hardest region of high school football in the state, but also just top to bottom throughout the state in Class 6A. But Spanish Fort season comes to an end. A really, really great run for Chase Smith. But, I mean, ultimately, that is just one hump that is hard to get over. Hueytown knocked out Theodore, I think, last season.
Yeah, last season, season before.
Man, it's just a really, really tough program. And so hat tip to Spanish Fort. St. Paul's was at home tonight against Pike Road. And for a program that hangs their hat on defense, Pike Road was definitely tough to stop tonight.
Yeah, we talked to a few people who were at the game, and they said Pike Road is just so athletic on the perimeter. They have a very, very fast quarterback. We knew that the St. Paul's defense, this is St. Paul's defense that held what you just saw. Sarah Lamb, one of the most the dynamic offenses, held that team to 19 points. So you know Pike Road is really, really good when they come out and drop 15 early on. Yep. Unbelievable pitch and catch here for the Patriots to be able to get on the board first, and they score yet again. I think it's a situation where St. Paul's just a dynamic defense. I think they just ran into a bad matchup here in this football team with Pike Road. There you see their dynamic quarterback here. And a hat tip to Ham Barnett, because he said at the beginning of the season, he said, we have 4A numbers.
They do, and they have 4A staff numbers. I mean, they have 4A player numbers. They have 4A player size in a lot of ways, outside of like a couple guys on that roster. And so, I mean, what they were able to accomplish in such a difficult region and really put it on Sarah Land and put that game down to the wire, and they end up being the 3. They go on the road to win their first game. You have to have a lot of respect for what Ham Barnett is able to do with maybe just not the same amount of resources in terms of numbers as people in their own region and statewide. Yeah,
and I think when you take a look at what the St. Paul's team was able to do, they had to play so many young guys last year. And they knew that, hey, this team will be developed, this team will be seasoned, have a core group of older guys, senior players who've had to be relied upon for a while, but so many young players as well that are still coming up. You think of a guy like Tank Jones, who's still in the mix. You have the little Abrams that's there as well. I think that we have a St. Paul's team that will be in the running for a very long time, as long as Ham Barnett's their coach and they got that development. But as you mentioned, they sometimes feel like they're playing behind the 8 ball against, as you mentioned, the toughest region in the state. To be able to get into the playoffs is a victory in and of itself. To be able to get a win was huge. Huge hat tip there for the Saints.
For sure. If you're just tuning in, 5th quarter extra, Gerhard Mathangani and Simone Eli joining you after a fantastic 5th quarter on the air. We're excited to bring you all of this extra coverage. Our team works so hard. I want to recap quickly what we have already discussed. Our only Region 1 team in 7A, Baker, went on the road, gave Enterprise everything they could have asked for, but they do fall in their round 2 game, which would be the quarterfinals in 7A, and their season comes to an end, but a lot to be proud of for Juan Johnson. We just got through 6A. Saraland is moving on after putting an absolute smackdown on Smackadory themselves here at Spartan Stadium. They will play at home next week. Saraland welcomes in Spain Park. The winner of that game will play Pike Road and Hueytown. That will be in what is considered the south side of the 6A bracket. Over on the other side, Oxford moves on. They'll play Fort Payne. Parker, who has been just everyone's paying attention to Parker. They beat Mountain Brook 28-7 tonight, and they will play Muscle Shoals, who upset Clay Chalkville, last year's 6A champ. I just saw that. So, wow, what a mix-up there in terms of just what this looks like going into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like chalk in the south, but a big upset there in the north. So we will have a new champion in 6A football no matter what. Saraland was that far away, but the other teams, I'm sure, they want a shot at the throne.
No doubt. All right, guys, let's get to 5A, where every single team in 5A region won last week advanced to round 2. So we're talking about Viger, Williamson, Citronelle, and UMS. All 4 of those teams advanced to round 2 because, well, 5A Region 1, we ball out over here, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about the Viger Wolves. They've been ranked in the top 10 in the state all year long, Gerhard, and even without their starting quarterback, Sammy Dunn, who transferred over from Bayside, they're picking up right where he could have left off offensively, man. They are unstoppable.
Yeah, Dylan Jackson is filled in just so nicely for this football team, and that's when you know you have a very deep team to be able to get your backup quarterback in and really just dial up these long plays. Jamarian Osborne on the receiving end of this one. Those are the 2 touchdowns we have from our highlights from.
And he waves by appropriately so.
Yeah, exactly. And it's another big victory here. Offense, scores 40-plus points. Once again, I think 43-0 was the final score there. This is a Viger football team that I think the most impressive thing about them is that they have been, it's not necessarily plug and play, but when some guys have not been able to whether it's health or whatever.
Play. I mean, to an extent, it's been plug and play. At quarterback, because they got down to like their 4th string at one point.
That's right. Yeah, they had to go to a backup, then the backup's back up, and they pull a guy from JV to play another position on offense. The defense has been phenomenal all year long. I think that this Viger team will be so hard to beat, and next week will be an interesting battle.
Yeah, it certainly will be an interesting battle. I think that we know, obviously, no, we don't think we know. We know how this one ended up between Viger and UMS. But dang, I'm excited that we're going to get it again. I don't care what it looked like the first time around. UMS, Terry Curtis in the playoffs. Well, that sounds like something you probably heard once or twice. And check this out. TC and UMS up against Andalusia. Let's give a hat tip to Max Fowler here, keeping this play alive somehow. And just before he gets drilled, and he got drilled, guys. He got drilled. Look at this poor boy. Oh, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But Bo Will said, no problem, my man. I'm going to pick this up and run this into the end zone. We're going to take a 7-0 lead here early in the game. Cooper Stadium is fired up, right? They have a lot of history with Andalusia. They played 20 times in Terry Curtis's career, okay? They're 18-2 against the Bulldogs. Okay, so the Bulldogs of Andalusia are wanting to try to get in the win column a little bit.
Even that up a little bit.
So here's Jones here for Andalusia. What a run, man. You got to give this guy credit because they break one loose. He gets to the outside, breaks containment, and he's gone off to the races. He scores, all right? But how about this? UMS Wright blocks the extra point. And so it's 7-6 in the first half. I believe that was in the first half. And that was the final score. 7-6 was the final score.
Right.
And UMS Wright is going to the 3rd round of the playoffs with a team that I'm not sure anyone really knew what this Terry Curtis coach team would look like because it's not the guys that have this your household names, so to speak, right? I mean, that's all-star running backs or incredible guys there at receiver. This is just a core group of seniors who I talked to a week ago, and I said, guys, don't let this end. You've worked your entire lives, your entire careers at K4, K whatever, as a Bulldog, and man, on to round 3 they're going, and what a dogfight, literally, between these 2 teams.
Yeah, I don't care what they say about this generation. They do listen because they listened to you last week. This is a team with 6 losses, Simone, going into the playoffs. Normally you have 6 losses. I actually
fact-checked you on that because in our pregame show because I actually thought you were wrong when they had 6 losses.
6 losses. It doesn't sound right.
It doesn't.
It doesn't sound right. But if you take the combined record of all those 6 teams, it's a phenomenal record because obviously you have teams like St. Paul's in there, teams like Williamson, Viger, Citronelle, T.R. Miller, St. Michael, all still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So this was a team that I think that their record didn't necessarily indicate who they are. However, they struggle to score it sometimes, and we've seen that at points in this period. But as we said at the top of this broadcast, these margins are so small, and you just need great coaching to set you up.
And Terry Curtis, I mean, there's no mistaking why he schedules these games the way that he does. He's playing the number 1 ranked team in Class 3A who's undefeated in T.R. Miller. He's playing a top-ranked team in St. Michael who has one of the best offensive play callers in football, one of the best quarterbacks in all of football to the NFL level, obviously, and Phillip Rivers calling the shots over there. Those are 2 non-region games. Then they played St. Paul's, who had the best defense in the state.
Right.
So they lose all 3 of those games, and you have no idea what that's going to look like. And what it looks like is going to the 3rd round.
It's unbelievable. And I think with this team, they just find different ways to do it because on Friday night, obviously the special teams made it happen.
Yep.
Against Citronelle, Bo Wills scores a touchdown. I think it was 15-6 was the final score in that one against BC Rain, I should say.
Yeah.
15-6 in a really tight football game there. They just find these small ways to edge these teams out. Now, people will always just have the bright eyes for the 40-50 wins.
Yep.
Terry Curtis knows how to win the 7-6 games, and that's what you need in the postseason.
Yes, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. Gerhard and Simone joining you to pretty much show off all of the great work by our crew behind the scenes, highlights from all over the area, Birmingham, Dothan, Montgomery, everybody. We're working our way through 5A right now. We'll recap everybody in just a minute. I know someone from Jackson just tuned in. We're going to get to the Aggies. Boy, we're going to get to the Aggies because dang, they are so good. Yeah. Really quick before we just move on from UMS, let's hear from Terry Curtis after the big win tonight as he gives credit to the guy getting it done on special teams. Here's Terry.
We scored the first time we had it. They scored the first time they had it. And, David Lott blocked an extra point, which we work on every week, and he came through and blocked it. And the rest from then on, it was a defensive game. We had a couple chances to score and couldn't get in, and our defense played lights out, and got away from it with a 7-6 win.
Death taxes Terry Curtis in the playoffs.
Let me give you one stat real quick, Simone.
This dude doesn't smile. Gosh, Terry, what are you doing, man? Come on.
You're on to the quarterfinals. It is just, it's just business as usual.
It is. He's just on to the next one.
One very quick stat. This is the 5th time Andalusia and UMS Wright have met in the playoffs. 3 times they beat Andalusia on the way to a state championship. In those 5 games, Terry Curtis now 4-1. He wins when it matters against his football team.
Yes, he absolutely does. And next up is going to be a challenge. He knows that. There's no faking the funk on that. They're going to run into a Viger team that dominated the regular season. But again, when it comes to the playoffs, and we have no dog in the fight. I mean, I want to see Viger win as much as I want to see UMS win, as much as I want to see any team in this area win. I am just thrilled that, one, it's going to be local. That we get to go.
That's right.
That we get to cover it ourselves, not have to depend on one of our affiliates. Do we get to cover it with our people?
Right.
And it's 2 of our teams and young men who have earned the right to be in the quarterfinals. So hat tip to Viger and to UMS Wright as they move on to the quarterfinals in 5A. Let's keep things rolling. Williamson Lions have been one of the best defensive teams in the state all year long. They ran into a Central Clay County team, Gerhard, that is just so good, man. And they were on the road, and we know Danny Horn, just like Terry Curtis, knows how to win ball games.
Yeah, more than 300 wins. He eclipsed Terry Curtis earlier this season. And Lineville is such a special place for high school football. Anybody that's been to that area, you know just how special it is. Coach Danny Horn reminds me a lot of Coach Terry Curtis. Those two met in the first round of the playoffs last year. This season, obviously, Central Clay County lost their running back a year ago, looking for a little revenge, and they got 2 big plays early on here to be able to get an early lead. This is their big-time quarterback being able to come up with a huge play and get into the end zone, Deshaun Gibbons. And then a little bit later on, the Williamson Lions would get on the scoreboard as Antonio Coleman and company would, be able to find some life offensively. Alvin Dinkins has been playing great for them at quarterback all year long. Plenty of time to throw. Keith Donald here on the other end for a big first down. However, they would get on the goal line, unable to score. In our highlights, however, this is a Williamson team that had played incredible defense all year long. And like we said earlier about matchups, I think it was just a really tough matchup.
Yep.
I did a little recon, Simone, and what I heard from this Vols team is that they have one of the biggest offensive lines in the state, 1A to 7A.
Yep.
They average, I believe it was close to 300 pounds across the board.
Yeah.
Big guys, athletic guys. Of course, they have that chip on their shoulder after losing a running back last year.
Yep.
I think Williamson just ran into a bad matchup, but from 3 wins last year for Williamson to a second-round playoff berth, I would say this is a massive success for the Lions.
It absolutely is. 31-6, the final score in that game. And I know that Antonio Coleman, the head coach, obviously, at Williamson, a proud alum of Williamson and Auburn University, is so proud of the effort that his guys have put in week in and week out. We had the chance to honor a guy for Player of the Week. We were out at Williamson several times this year, and proudly so, because what they have been able to just really, really develop there and just bring that proud program back to winning football, to sit and contend for the 5A Region 1 title just speaks volumes to what this program has and the people around them. Marcus Cook coming over from Viger now as the offensive coordinator, and so just a lot to be proud of for Williamson. No questions asked for sure. A lot to be proud of. And again, Central Clay County probably going to be, I would be surprised if they weren't, maybe I shouldn't put this on there because I'm obviously going to run into a Catholic Montgomery team that's just as good. That's going to be 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those 2 teams, there's a good chance that the game whoever comes out of the South is going to be the champ.
That's what I think. I think all the power is
no
in the South.
No diss to Moody and Ramsey and all these people that poach all these guys wherever in the state and all that. But I'm just telling you right now, whoever that semifinal game in the South is going to be your state championship game. Whether Viger, Central Catholic, and UMS all there in the mix, man, that game is going to be a battle.
Yeah, I think you have these physical teams, and I think it all comes down to matchups this time of year. I agree with you. The power right now is in the South. Now, who can inflict their will on the other? That's always been the name of the game here in the playoffs. And we saw teams like a 6-loss team like UMS, right? And an undefeated team like Central Clay, both going to get done. Yeah,
if you're just tuning in, fifth quarter extra, we're going to keep it rolling here in Class 5A. Let's head over to Citronelle. I had the chance to go to Citronelle earlier this week, Gerhard. Had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time there with the Wildcat faithful. Got to kind of break bread with them, so to speak, and meet with the guys. Had a chance to talk to them and say, listen, this is going to be a battle against Montgomery Catholic. They knew that coming in. Montgomery Catholic got moved up to Class 5A from 4A, where they dominated in 4A, and they have absolutely dominated this year as well. Undefeated. They're the number one ranked team in the state for good reason. And I had texted a few of Citronelle faithful before this game. I said, guys, regardless of how this one ends up, be proud of what you've done. And look at this crowd. I mean, look at the people who came out for Citronelle. What is going on there, what Jason Rowell and company are bringing to that program, regardless of what these highlights look like, is special. It's a special community. It's a lot to be proud of, and just, I mean, tip your hat to what they had to deal with a lot of adversity this season. They've just overcome so much, and those guys, you could tell when I met with them on Wednesday that they were excited about where they were. They felt confident going into this game, and they should. You should feel confident and excited about where you're at right now, and this senior class can say with good faith that they are leaving this program in a better place than where they picked it up 4 years ago. Yeah. I mean, there was a time 4 years ago when we were not covering Citronelle in a regular capacity because we have a limited staff, and you're looking at where you can send people, and Citronelle fell towards the bottom of the list of places you were going to go. It's a school that's far away, and this is just real talk. I mean, this is local. We don't have an unlimited staff and unlimited budget to send people everywhere. Citronelle, since Jason Rowell has taken over that program, his alma mater has become one of our priority schools. We're going to send someone to Citronelle every single week, and we did this week, proudly so. And so Citronelle Wildcats, man, be proud of what you were able to accomplish this year. You ran into a team that could very, very, very likely be holding a second consecutive blue map in a different classification for a second straight year. Yeah, and if you don't follow Simone on social media, follow her, but then also continue watching this. But when you get time tonight or tomorrow, read her posts about Citronelle football, because I think it encapsulates what this team and this community is about. And this season, I think, encapsulates what high school football is about. It's about learning lessons, about turning young guys, young boys into men. So I think this season really does that in such a great way. Nothing to hang their heads about. And you mentioned with Jason Rowell, he's a Citronelle guy, and he made people proud to be from Citronelle. And you saw in that shot with all the crowd, with all the people there. I got chills just thinking about it. They're proud to be Wildcats, and they should be proud tonight. Yeah, they really, really should. So hat tip to the Wildcats and to their fan base for showing out every single week and showing those boys love. That is what high school football is all about. High school football is also all about what is happening in Jackson, another special place where, I mean, listen, you got to lock up your house when you go to the game because nobody's at home and the cops are at the game too, and all of the ballers are at the game because that's what they do in Jackson. They play football, and man, do they play football. Wearing the black unis tonight, Gerhard, and for good reason because, wow, Landon Duckworth, the quarterback for Jackson. This is the 4A number one ranked team. Cody Flournoy, the head coach. Landon Duckworth going to truck a guy, pretty much setting the tone early in this game. They're going to be physical. They already know that they can almost beat anybody just man-to-man on the outside. Yeah. But this is also a physical football team. They made it known early on. This quarterback's afraid to get the ball. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he's bobbling the snap. I mean, probably because he knows he's about to get demolished, and then he gets picked off. And then he gets and two of his guys are down there. There's one Jackson player that's down there. The Jackson guy ends up getting the football. Okay, guys, shout out to Bo Reed, our photographer that went out to this game because he knew, all right, let me get the quarterback strapping up his helmet, ready to get back in the game. Landon Duckworth, man, such a good kid. Getting back into the action here. here. And then he goes to Red Chapman. Keon Red Chapman. We're cool like that in Jackson, guys. Everybody loves us. And so, listen, we get to use the nicknames. That's Red Chapman, man. We followed them to a state title. We go follow in basketball. We go follow them to a state title here in football.
And that's the motivation for this football team. When we handed Landon Duckworth as Zaxby's Player of the Week, he said, we got it done in basketball. We want to carry that same energy into football. And they're getting it done. And they're loving life right now.
Yeah.
And a lot like what I said about Sarah Lynn, this team can sleepwalk through some of these games. They probably know it when they cut the film on. And that's one of your best players as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these guys, they ball out. They play both ways. They don't even care. They're like, Coach, I will play anywhere you want me to play. You want me to play water boy? You want me to play quarterback? You want me to play kicker? I mean, I'll stand there and hold a clipboard. I don't even care. As long as I can be a part of something that is special and all of Jackson football is special, I want to be a part of it. And that is, I mean, you got Jackson kids playing Jackson football. And by the way, we didn't even say E.J. Crowell's name tonight, by the way. It's the best player on the team.
That's when you know it's good, when you can hang 40-something and not have your best player.
What was the final in that game? A lot. It was a shut. It was 51-0, I think,
51.
Actually.
So 50-plus, and not have the best running back in America for the sophomore class.
Yeah, the 51-0 against Bibb County, who, by the way, was the 9th-ranked team in the state.
Yeah. I mean, just put that in comparison. I know you don't put a lot of stock into rankings. However, this Bibb County team is perennially deep in the playoffs, really good football team. So it's one of these things where Jackson, hey, if there was any wonder if Jackson is distracted, thinking all about the state championship, oh no, they have a laser focus to Birmingham.
Yeah, okay. We got some people in the comments talking about T.R. Miller trying to get cheated tonight. I think I need to hear about the drama in this, guys. You know, I'm all about some high school football drama. So let us know what the details are in this game, Rodney. I see Carl Stanton. What's going on? Tell me about what's going on in that game for sure before we get to Class 3A. It's right around the corner. Before we do, let's talk about St. Michael Catholic making history. It's like they're like 5 days new right now in terms of their football program. But Phillip Rivers obviously has played a lot of football. His son looks like he's played a lot of football, even though he's only a sophomore.
That's insane.
The dude's, I mean, pull up his stats.
Oh, I will.
We are Gunner Rivers fans. I just want to ride his tailcoats to like the NFL and say that I knew him because
it's
honestly,
going there. It feels like it's going there.
It's going there, you guys. This dude is a baller. Let's head over to the St. Michael highlights, and let's forgive us for these because they're not. I mean, they're good. They're fine highlights. We got them in a little bit late. We got them from our affiliate. We shout out to our affiliate for handing us these. We only have a couple of plays, but they're the only ones that matter. Here's Brody Jones. Gerhard thought on the air this was an offensive play. It was thrown so well to him. Check this out. I mean, shout out to the Hueytown court. Who were they playing? Pleasant Grove. Same thing. They're right there next to each other. But Brody Jones picks that ball off, and then Gunner Rivers right to work. Hands it off to one of their threats every single week. I feel like we are saying this guy's name.
Noah Moss has been incredible for this team. Tucker Tomlinson has been incredible. You mentioned Brody as well. So many weapons for this football squad. So through 11 games. Is he talking to the
camera or talking to the official right here? Look, they got a little swag to him over there in St. Michael Catholic, man. Don't rule him out now.
They certainly do.
He turns around trying to see who he's talking to. I like it though. All right, Noah, go on, man. That's cool.
I like that. Like that. All right, so through 11 games so far this season, Simone. So this goes through their first-round playoff game. 3,062 yards, 204 completions.
This season? Are you sure you're not on the career tab?
He threw 3,000 yards last season as well. So 3,062 yards, not counting tonight's game. Averaged 18 yards per completion, 31 touchdowns. 4 interceptions.
That's insane.
So he's not only completing it at a high percentage, he's not only completing it as far as per down, every time the ball goes in the air and caught by one of his teammates. So 18 yards per completion. That lets you know his teammates are doing work after the catch as well. 31 touchdowns, and he's not throwing it to the other team.
And he's like 15.
He is, and that's great decision making.
And playing against a Pleasant Grove team who is historically, I mean, right in there contending for a blue map almost every single year. And Daryl LeBeau does a really, really good job there at Pleasant Grove. Yeah,
and Pleasant Grove's a team that played for a state championship not that long ago. And this is a St. Michael team that this is every step they take is uncharted territory. Last year, they made the playoffs for the first time ever. This year, they won a playoff game for the first time ever, and now won on the road and won a playoff game for the first time ever. Yep. Everything is new to this team, and they seem so unfazed.
Yep, man, it's incredible. It really is. All right, so we're going to have St. Michael moving on. St. Michael will play Fairfield, who beat W.S. Neal, and that game is going to be at Fairfield. So St. Michael goes back on the road. They're going to have to it's going to be the gauntlet for St. Michael. They're going to have to go back to the Birmingham area to play Fairfield, who pulled one out against W.S. Neal. We'll have those highlights in just a moment. Jackson is going to be at home against Tallahassee, who beat Ashford tonight 40-14. So obviously, when you put up 40 against anybody in the second round of the playoffs, you're pretty decent offense until you play the Jackson Aggies.
Yeah, the high-octane offenses for Jackson and for St. Michael. I like them both in next week's matchup.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, just the unluck of the draw. Saraland gets 3 straight home games. St. Michael's got to go on the road for a second time. Yeah. It's just sometimes the way that the bracket falls and just the way that the HSAA writes these rules.
And here's the thing. Should Jackson and St. Michael win, that game is going back to Jackson.
That's right.
Because when you beat a team, it does not matter. I mean, they're going to have, if they want to get to the game, they're going to have to go on the road 3 times. I mean, how many times? So St. Michael was at home.
Yeah, at home for game 1.
At home. Then they go on the road. They're going back on the road.
Right.
If they win and Jackson wins, and I feel pretty good about Jackson. I put my money on Jackson.
Me too.
By about 40. I'm just calling out the numbers here. They're going to have to play at Jackson because Jackson beat them in the regular season in Region 1. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be interesting. But listen, man, I mean, if there's anyone that can get them mentally ready, it's Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers talked about this. I mentioned this. We went live on Facebook right before our game of the week. And one of the things that I mentioned was Phillip Rivers stood right there. I watched the interview that he did with our guys. Week 10, regular season was over. And he said, we got a big one next week, and we might have to go to Pleasant Grove. He knew this. He was looking in the future.
Yeah.
He just knew it mentally as a coach. Obviously, he's getting his team ready.
Yep.
And he wasn't, counting chickens before they hatch. But he kind of manifested this. He understood it. We have to do this. And I won't be a bit surprised, Simone, if he looked right next to it and said, hey, guys, we might have to go on the road again. And so for these guys to plug in mentally the way they did tonight might be a precursor for what's coming up in 7 days.
It's certainly a good sign for sure. And I want to give a hat tip to W.S. Neal. We went up to Bruton today, and W.S. Neal is a program that not too long ago didn't win a ton of ball games, but they really just have just been playing good football when it matters most, and they played good football tonight. Gerhard, I think we have the script on this game somewhere, but if you want to pull that up right quick. But W.S. Neal hosting Fairfield. Want to give a shout out to the Eagle faithful, really for welcoming us there in Bruton, and we had chance to just show off kind of their highlights, and you see this here. They go up, I think, just a couple scores early in this game against Fairfield, but Fairfield was able to just chip away, and end up winning. I think 23-22 was the final, Gerhard. But let's show some love to these guys and these highlights here early in this game for W.S. Neal.
Yeah, Jared Crook, the quarterback. Watch him here. Just a really athletic play and hits Easton Grace, and Grace into the end zone for the early touchdown there. And then a little bit later on, it's Crook, this time to Shamarian Clark for another big W.S. Neal touchdown. And so you mentioned just how tight these games are, and a big shout out to these guys who are these big-time playmakers for W.S. Neal. They have a gauntlet. Of course, they're into the regular season. They got to play one of the toughest teams in the state.
Battle of Murder Creek, no doubt.
The Battle of Murder Creek against T.R. Miller, and then now going on playing this game at home against a really good football team. Down to the wire there, but a hat tip there to W.S. Neal for a really good season.
Absolutely, and no question about that. Super proud of them, and of course, just what they were able to accomplish. So nothing to hang your hat on for sure. Okay, we're going to get to the drama because we've had people in the DMs, and then we have some T.R. Miller faithful who watch Fifth Quarter Extra. And what I'm hearing is that the refs tried to keep Trinity in the game. Okay, so the good news is that T.R. Miller won 21-7 in this game. They're the number 1 ranked team. I thought it was a little low scoring, but apparently I have some hot takes over here. It should have been 42-0 according to Carl Stanton.
Well, and I believe Carl, because T.R. Miller's been beating everybody by that score anyway. So I don't know if you guys could tell us how and maybe flesh some of this out of
let's
the way
put it this way.
it.
Trinity gave up 42 to Randolph County last week, and T.R. Miller has one of the best offensive playmakers, a couple of them actually. Yeah. Nathan Commander and of course their running back. I mean, they have guys all over the board who are so talented.
Yeah, Miles Johnson and all these guys that have just done amazing work all season long. I think the last time I checked, they were averaging 42 points per football game, giving up about 6 points per game as well. So if the fans out there said, hey, maybe a touchdown came back because of a phantom hold, or a big play came back because of whatever.
I believe them. T.R. Miller folks know their football, man. They know what they're looking at.
Smart fan base.
They really is. Let's cue up the highlights here. We have these, naturally, of course, best high school football show in America. And here's T.R. Miller. Commander is going to read this one and then go to a relatively wide open receiver here, Gerhard. I know you have the highlights of these ones as well, but T.R. Miller getting it done after going up to Montgomery and beating Trinity, even though it was a close game. And TR Miller will be back home, guys, yes, to host Houston Academy next week.
Yeah, that was Marshall Lovelace on the very first catch. Great play by Commander just to get out of there. And then you see big number 32, Miles Johnson, the touchdown run for him. Yep. He gets it done on offense, defense. He's even run back a couple of kickoffs for touchdowns, so he gets it done on special teams as well. This is a football team that, in my opinion, it's so hard not to root for. You think about what happened to Ken Lett in the UMS Wright game. And, it goes off on a stretcher, and shout out to the TR Miller people because they have kept him at the top of mind.
Yep.
And he's kind of, I think, been their motivation, been kind of their heartbeat, so to speak, for this football team all season long. And they were able to get to the UMS Wright game, mow through everybody. According to our fans here on Fifth Quarter Extra, we'll get down to the bottom of it.
I'm about to pull something up because I am curious about something in terms of score totals and just what TR Miller has put up all year, because this is probably one of their closest wins of the season.
Yeah, I think it was 42
Reeltown in the Crampton Bowl. I think Reeltown was who they thought coming into the season. That's week one. We can throw that week out. That's 28-7 was that game. Then they beat teams 40-7, 56-0, 56-7. Hillcrest game, of course, rivalry game. Throw that one out too, but they won it by 5. Okay, then it hasn't been close. UMS obviously was a dogfight for sure, but. Yeah, I have to agree with you here on this Trinity game, guys. I didn't watch it, but everything checks out.
It's a little abnormal.
The officials tried to keep him in it, guys. Listen, man, that's what happens when you got a little home cooking there in Montgomery. So I'm gonna side with our TR Miller faithful, man. They're good to us.
And we'll have to see the film and find out exactly just how.
No, we don't, Gerhard. No, we don't. We just agree with people.
I want to know. No, I agree with our people. I just want to know how and why, and to make sure this doesn't happen again to our TR Miller.
I can tell you this for a fact. Coach Hubbard ain't worried about it.
No.
He said, guess what? We're playing next week. We're playing Houston Academy next week. And this is a Houston Academy team that went on the road to Thomasville, who was ranked 3rd in the state.
Yeah.
And Houston Academy is over in the Wiregrass area in Dothan.
Yeah.
They go all the way. Really quick story. This is kind of funny, guys. Okay,
I was wondering if you were going to tell it, because if not, I wanted to.
I love saying Wiregrass because when I first worked at Fox 10, across the bay. Now, across the way here about 11 years ago. I worked here in Mobile. And I was trying to be cool and say what everyone else was saying. So I said, yeah, all right, let's head over to the wine grass. The wine grass. I thought everybody was saying the wine grass. And so I get off the set, and our executive producer looks at me and says, what did you just say? I said, what are you talking about, what I say?
Well, grapes come from the ground.
The wine grass? I said, yeah, like Dothan, the Dothan area, the wine grass. It's the Wiregrass. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I can laugh at myself now because I got hired back in Mobile, obviously at the best TV station in America, WKRG News 5. But it's the Wiregrass for all those asking at home. All right.
And if you had any hesitation at home, you learned something new tonight. It's the Wiregrass.
Now you know it's the Wiregrass. They're taking it from somebody from Ohio. Anyways, so TR Miller, though, is going to host Houston Academy. They don't have to go to the Wiregrass. They're going to be at home against Houston Academy, who went to Thomasville. We have highlights from that game. We'll get to that in just a second. But Thomasville has been, I think they were undefeated. They were 10-0.
That's right.
And Dwayne, I know it's the Wiregrass, dog. That's what I was just saying, man. Yeah, it's the Wiregrass. It absolutely is. It's not the Winegrass. So if it was the Winegrass, I'd be okay with that. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, so anyways, but Thomasville, let's do those highlights right quick, because Thomasville, man, it's like Jackson. It's like these other just like proud communities and programs, man. They just show out for their guys, but they ran into a Houston Academy team who's just so tough. Look at these dudes.
Yeah, and they're running the football really well. This is Andrew Gill, first touchdown of the game for the Raiders. He grabbed an early 7-0 lead, and then they come right back. The Tigers do. This is a great toss play, great, amazing blocking for Bryant. As he gets into the end zone, this is Diego Bryant, because we also have a Dallas Bryant, who also made a big play in this game as well.
Surely they're
but
related.
Houston Academy, for sure, I would believe so, there in Thomasville. But this is a Houston Academy team that got up 21-7.
I mean, some of those guys look like they should be playing 6A football.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like that offensive line is better than some 7A offensive lines, and I've seen them up close. I promise you, they look pretty good.
They are huge. Andrew Gill, second touchdown of the game. Like I said, 21-7 at one point in this football game, and a great showing here by Thomasville. There you see Bryant once again, Diego, and then Dallas comes up with a big play as well. 45-33 the final score. So Thomasville, obviously great showing, great football season, but as you mentioned, just ran into a buzzsaw today.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And so it'll be Houston Academy at TR Miller, and that is going to be an unbelievable game there in Bruton. So cannot wait to see what that one looks like for the Tigers. Looking to, they're on one mission, but Houston Academy is right there licking their chops, hoping to be that team that's contending for a blue map as well.
Yeah, I think the Houston Academy offense against the TR Miller defense, that's the matchup I want to see, because as you saw in those highlights, you mentioned it, the offensive line is really big. They can run the football.
Yep.
They can throw the football as well. TR Miller, I know they'll be prepared with Coach Hubbard. That'll be a fun one next week.
All right, guys, let's go back to the Montgomery area where Alabama Christian, this is the ACA in Montgomery, played host to Bayside Academy tonight. And Bayside, man, do not sleep on Bayside Admirals, guys, because even though they go down 7-0 in this game to start it, they just chipped away Gerhard, and Bayside is going to move on to the third round.
This is a team that I think so many people had questions about going into the year. They lost their starting quarterback, and now they're still alive here in the Class 3A playoffs. Coach Barrett Trotter and company, you think of Barrett Trotter, you think of offense, and their offense has been playing very well. But hat tip to their defense, because as you said, they scored on the first drive, and they did not score again, them being their opponents in ACA. And you see another big touchdown there. Last week, 36-6. Today, it only allowed one touchdown again.
And look at these guys. Great. These guys, this ACA team, like just from the eye test, if I just lined these two teams up, just real talk, I'm thinking, okay, Bayside, it's been a great season. You enjoyed your advancing to round 2. And be proud of that. But it's going to end.
Yeah.
Except for that Barry Trotter knows how to coach, and he's got great people around him, and they have guys that are dedicated to the program, and they have people that travel like that all the way to Montgomery for this game. And they said, no, sir, I don't care what the eye test says, because we're going to round 3, and they absolutely are, to play Southside Selma. So, look, hat tip to Barrett Trotter, dealing with a little bit of adversity going into the year, losing their quarterback, having to just kind of piece things together early on, and then just totally hitting their stride throughout the entire year. They won, I think they took one loss, and I think we look at this every week, I think, and then we won 8 straight games or something crazy like that.
That's right,
and Bayside Academy is moving on. They're playing Southside Selma, and they have to go back on the road Warriors, similar to St. Michael's. They're going to be at Southside Selma.
Yeah, you mentioned St. Michael. That's the team that they lost to at the beginning of the season, and they've run on a nice run. I think that Coach Barrett Trotter, they've known how to adjust. I think the season has been about adjusting all season long.
Yeah.
You take a lump in that first game, you adjust. You lose your starting quarterback at the beginning of the year, you adjust. You give up a touchdown first drive of the game, you adjust. It's been adjustment after adjustment after adjustment, and that's great coaching.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of a tough draw for Bayside just looking at it, because Montgomery Academy was the top ranked team in 1A. Is that right? They were the region champ in class. In the region 2. Wow, I cannot speak right now. Okay.
It's a lot of football.
They won the region. Yeah. They've been at home. And so you would think going into that game that they would maybe beat Southside Selma, obviously, and then Bayside would be able to host Montgomery Academy, just looking at how this entire bracket is broken down. But Southside Selma, ever since they beat Hillcrest Evergreen in a 1-point ball game where Hillcrest had tried to go for 2, didn't get it, they've had all types of momentum, and now they have earned a home game. So, hats off to Southside Selma, I guess. That's pretty impressive in its own right.
Won a big overtime, or won a big game against Hillcrest Evergreen, a 1-point game in that one to keep their season alive, and here they are still rolling. It's like we talked about with UMS Wright. If you just find ways to win late in the year, you can keep on dancing.
Yep, no question about that. So that does it for our 3A teams. It'll be Bayside, Southside Selma going head-to-head. TR Miller, Houston Academy. The winner of those games, obviously, will meet in the semifinals next week. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. We're going to go back up to the top in just a moment, talk about 7A, 6A, 5A. So long as you're watching, we're going to keep talking about football. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to join the chat. Any games that you want to talk about statewide, Gerhard and I obviously keep an eye on everything all throughout the entire state. Obviously, we know Hoover pulled out a huge triple overtime victory over Opelika after the drama that we broke earlier this week with Opelika's coach being suspended for that game due to the sideline hoopla, whatever the heck that happened last week. We'll get to that in a minute. But guys, so keep it locked in here. Fifth Quarter Extra. We appreciate everybody tuning in. This is our passion. This is what we love to do. No doubt about it. Okay, into Clark County has been a top-ranked team all year, Gerhard, but they ran into an Arrington team over in the Wiregrass, and then obviously they're pretty good too, because this ball was thrown unbelievably well. Clark County takes 7-0 lead, and then that's all they could score.
Yeah, we talked about adjustments with Bayside. Hats off to Arrington. Adjustments for them as well. Clark County is a team that's won a state championship here recently within the last 5 years, and a team that knows how to have big playoff success. But this Arrington football team, the Purple Cats, one of my favorite names quick aside here. The Highland Home football team, the Flying Squadron, the Purple Cast, two of my favorite mascots.
I love that.
But Clark County, just a lot to be proud of because at the beginning of the season, lost the game early on. They were able to rally, get back into it. You see the passion there in the community, in the Ayrton community. Same thing in Clark County as well.
Yep.
Clark County football team it's a perennial power there in Class 2A. However, Ayrton does get that big win.
Yeah, they absolutely. So they are moving on. They'll play Highland Home. There you go, G.
Flying Squadron.
Your two teams matching up. They're right there in round 3.
Who you got?
You might have to go to that game.
Let's do it.
You should just go to that game, just you.
I'm going to do it.
I'm not going to that game.
Literally, I want to have a half and half jersey. The Purple Cats and the Flying Squadron.
You know what? Go ahead and make that. Get a seamstress. She'll get that together for you. And also in 2A, Cottonwood and Reeltown. So Reeltown, that team we'd mentioned a minute ago, going to be right there contending for a blue map, which also probably speaks to how good TR Miller can be. That's who they beat in the first game there in Montgomery, even though it's a lower classification. All right, in 1A, guys, let's talk about 1A football because we're going to have a new champ in Class 1A. A year ago, it was Leroy holding that blue map there, and this year in Birmingham, it will be a different team as Leroy falls to Georgiana, 16-14. Don't have a ton of details on that game. If anyone else knows how that one shaped up, obviously a little bit of a defensive battle, I would say, for given that Leroy regularly posts several touchdowns. I don't know if they injuries or if they just ran into a really tough Georgiana team. Georgiana also posts a lot of points, or at least they put up 40 a week ago, and so 16-14, not exactly what I would have thought was that one, but nonetheless, Georgiana moves on. They will play Elba, of course. Elba, known for their great running back and Alvin Henderson. There, they move on with a big win over Linden, 49-14. That team might just be destined for a title, but Milry is going to try to say something about that, as is Maplesville. Let's head out to Milry, Gerhard, where we got to be able to show the Milry community a little bit of love.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. This Milry team, I think, is a squad that has, obviously they probably thought that they might get Leroy a little bit later on, but they were able to come away with a big win tonight here. You take a look at some of these highlights as Milry playing Mackenzie. Milry in the second round here for the 6th year in a row.
Dang.
We saw a big pass there. Jaquan Stewart had a great catch off the pass from Jason Waite. Then Landon Doggett scored the first touchdown. You see the Milry faithful there, super happy. And then how about this play call, Simone? The ensuing kickoff is an onside kick.
Why not?
It is the kicker that ends up getting the football, Phoenix Holyfield, with the recovery, and they capitalize as Jackson Waite on the quarterback keeper with the touchdown. So for 6 years in a row, they make it to this round, and now they're going to the next round as well. And as you mentioned it, this is a Maplesville team. You think of 1A football in the South. You think of the Leroys. You think of the Maplesville. You think of the Sweetwaters. Now Milry saying, hey, we belong as well, and they'll get to battle with Maplesville next week.
And Milry has been right there, I mean, for a minute now. And for them to be able to be now into the quarterfinals, licking their chops for this Maplesville team that pulled out a 21-20 win over Sweetwater. A little bit low scoring. Maplesville is used to those high-flying, 50-some-odd points or something like that. So maybe not the Maplesville that we've seen, but we know that's a proud program. But Milry's going to get them at home. So it's going to be the Milry. We'll be back up at Milry. You can count on that, guys. We will absolutely be covering that game so we can totally see if Milry can punch their ticket to the semifinals. And again, on the other side of that bracket, it's going to be Georgiana, who upsets, I would just say an upset, because I'm sure that they're a talented team, but Leroy, obviously, the defending champs, a lot of guys that they had coming back, obviously, as well, too, and so that they will not hoist a blue map this year, I should say. Georgiana plays Elba for a chance in the semifinals there in 1A. Gerhard.
Yeah, Chandlo, shout out to him. He's done a great job with his football team.
Yep.
Came in mid-season last year. I believe their coach got deployed, and so lost their coach in the middle of the year.
Incredible story.
In service to the country, and then went on to win a championship. You knew he had a really good team coming back this year as well. Just ran into a really good Georgiana football team. And we'll see the teams that are now alive. Can they get it done? We saw Milry with a great game here tonight. And we'll see what happens next week. 1A South. We said the power in the North in Class 5A. The power is in the South in Class 5A. I think the exact same situation here in Class 1A as well. No disrespect for anybody north of Montgomery, but I think the power is all here in the South.
There is no doubt about that. As we look back, obviously, we've talked all about our Region 1 teams, and we have not only given you scores, we're giving you highlights from just about every single team that we cover, and glad to do it. I have a great team here at WKRG News 5 here on Fifth Quarter Extra, but there's a lot more people other than just Gerhard and myself, Pat, who stays late at night, and people just working overtime and extra time and their off time to pour into this show. So just before we continue to talk about statewide scores, just want to give a shout out to all of the people behind the scenes here, Fifth Quarter Extra, who just make this magic happen, because man, it's such a great show. Honestly, in 15 years of broadcast, never been more proud of anything in my life.
The hardest working invisible hands that you can ask for, and we have people. Let's take you behind the scenes for a second. You have people who aren't even scheduled to work, who say, "Hey, I want to help out with high school football," and they come in and they go for it. They go long distances, and they really love it. They put their passion into it. They love it just as much as we do, and it really shows.
Yep, the unsung heroes, no question about that. Let's talk about just some of these statewide games. And so all of our people at TR Miller, Rodney, y'all can always go come with TR Miller, man. We've been at TR Miller. Me personally, I mean, I was at Bruin. Obviously, I was there doing a preview for our big play of our game of the week against Hillcrest. But we're giving TR Miller love. I promise. That not only have they earned it, but we're up there in Bruin every single week when they are at home. So appreciate your passion, and we're right there with you, man. But in 7A, we do know Baker obviously was our only team from Region 1 that advanced. They lost to Enterprise 30-14. Hat tip to Juan Johnson. We praised him to the nth degree to start this show. Enterprise will play Thompson, who pulled one out against Auburn, man, and that is a...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little surprised by that, because Thompson, that's kind of like one of those things. Mark Freeman in the postseason, I mean, he's a former Spanish Fort coach. He just knows how to win. He knows how to get his guys ready, and they have taken their lumps a little bit this year. Didn't win the region there in Region 3, but able to get it done against Auburn, who I would say was probably one of the favorites to win. Yeah,
this is a team in Thompson that coming into the playoffs, they normally look like a team that drops 50 points. They're undefeated. This year, 3-4 losses in the loss column there. But you just figure Trent Seaborn and company will just find ways to get it done, and that's exactly what they do. Yeah. This is a really good, really well-coached Auburn team. Coach Keith Etheridge, Will Wagnon do a great job with that offense as well.
They do.
But shout out to Thompson. Winners just find ways to win this time of year.
And they did it at Auburn, man. I mean, so that
hard
game,
place to win.
So that Enterprise will be at Thompson. That's there in Alabaster. And then the other side of the bracket, don't want to say north-south, but the other side of the bracket, Hoover beats Opelika. Let's talk briefly about the Hoover-Opelika situation, guys. Because going into this game, all eyes were on the news that we broke here at News 5 on Monday or Tuesday. I think it was on Monday, maybe on Tuesday. All the days rolled together, man. I can't even keep up anymore. But Opelika coach Brian Moore was suspended for this game by the Alabama High School Athletic Association. And would just like to take a moment to just hat tip to Heath Harmon and his staff there in Montgomery, who have taken action in real time throughout this season, different situations, whether it's with a team, whether it's with a coach, to make an impact that we have not seen under the last regime. And I think that that's why there was a change made in Montgomery, because at the end of the day, we were not seeing action taken in real time when it mattered most and when it impacted the fairness and the equity of high school athletics, especially when it comes to football. So hat tip to Heath Harmon, but Brian Moore, a situation that he knew better than to put himself in. And I mean, we're not sitting here, we're not going to hate on Brian Moore or Opelika or anything like that. No bad blood. We have a job to do, and we report on the news that we got to report on. But Brian Moore goes to scout a game the week before on a Thursday night, Fairhope and Hoover at the Hoover Met. He uses a credential that was meant for his student media that he gets in a packet ahead of the playoff games. Okay, so he wears that credential to gain field access, and he gets turned in by Hoover naturally. And they say that the state determines that was kind of unethical, that it was immoral. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not sure what the competitive advantage that he thought he would have gained from being on the field. Right. Whether it's there or not, I don't know. I don't coach football, but at the end of the day, they determined that was not right. He was suspended for the game. Right. And then this game goes into triple overtime, Gerhard. You couldn't ask for more drama.
Yeah, and I think that if you're Coach Moore, nothing has to feel worse than not being able to be with your team in these crunch moments. But also, I'll give him credit because he owned up to it, didn't make any excuses, and took his punishment. And it's just a tough spot because, as you said, I don't know if there's a competitive advantage at all in what he was able to do. And I just think that it's a kind of a cautionary tale to a lot of just coaches in general and just those who are competitive. We're all competitive. Yeah. Anybody who's an athlete wants to win, and you want to find every single edge to be able to win. And I think when you cross the line, you said it. there's punishments and there's consequences for your actions.
Part of it.
And Montgomery is holding teams, not just this team, several other teams accountable for any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
And as you said, this is not, some super illegal thing, throw them in jail, but this is crossing the lines of competitive spirit. And Montgomery did what they had to do. They had to go play without their head coach today in a very, very tough ball game. But, like you said, shout out to Hoover to be able to win a very close ball game under really difficult circumstances for Opelika.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, very eloquently said, much more eloquently than I typically say things. So I appreciate that. Gerhard always coming in the clutch with things that are eloquent. And so he can make rule breaking sound so nice sometimes. I'm out here like, get him. Anyway, that's just my attitude. But anyways, so Hoover wins this game. And honestly, in a triple overtime, it's hard. Whoever was calling the shots for Opelika, I have no idea who's on that staff. And it's not one of our teams that we cover. We just are policing the police as the media, wanting to see the HSAA hold people accountable. That's why we cover these stories. But whoever had to call the shots for Opelika, hat tip to them in a game where you have to one, claw back into it. 'Cause I think they were down like 2 scores. I'm sure this coach maybe had some former head coaching experience, maybe on staff. I would have to assume. Again, I don't even know who's on their staff, but you have to have a hat tip to them because they were able to call a pretty good game to get them back into the game. One, going into the second half, tie the game, then go into triple overtime where you get a ball picked off and Hoover ends up able to just kick a field goal and win it. And then hats off to Hoover. They lost their head coach in the beginning of the year for the scandal that happened up that, of course, we broke. Their beginning of the year. Then they do just nothing other than win the region. Chip English, as he gets he has a head coaching experience, but he gets thrown into the head coaching spot. All these guys feel like they're down and out. There's Hoover people texting me saying, man, this season's just going to be nothing. You're in the semifinal. You know what I'm saying? They said, let's put you on my back. And we're going to ride this one to the semifinals. And now they have a shot right there against Central Phoenix City, who's obviously one of the best teams in the state, as we know. Yeah,
Jamie Ferguson is the guy that was named interim coach and stepped in. And as you mentioned, did a really good job as far as being able to get this team in the right positions. But as you said, this is a Hoover football team that had adversity of their own all season long. So 2 football teams that kind of weirdly in parallel positions, just on opposite sides of the season. One at the beginning of the season, one at the tail end of the season. The Hoover Bucks, though, end up getting it done. Hoover and Thompson deep in the playoffs. I mean, I think this is one of these.
I've never heard that one before.
Is this 2010? Is this feels like?
It's so funny because honestly, another hat tip to the HSAA. They really tried hard to create some parity in 7A. And honestly, I mean, this is the only thing that you can do. This is the only thing that you can do. Rather than just having everybody play one against 4 or really 1 against 2 and 3 against 4 when it comes to the regions. Everybody's kind of shuffled around in these 4 different quadrants. And at the end of the day, it's Hoover against Central. It's Thompson against Enterprise. Right. So you have representatives from Region 3 and Region 2. And that's just where the best football comes from right now in 7A.
Exactly. And you're right. The format to me was perfect. For those that aren't familiar or didn't keep up with 7A in the new format, as we said, it's 4 quadrants. So it's 16 teams. So think 4 up top, 4 here, 4 here, and 4 here, 4 here. There's a representative in each region, region 1, 2, 3, 4, in each of those. Yep. So you can legitimately have 2 teams in the same region playing for a state championship.
And we could.
And that's still alive right now as Hoover and Thompson are both still in.
Yeah, so when it comes to where these teams actually were when we started the playoffs, I'm curious to see that because Hoover was the 1. Obviously, they won the region. I think Auburn won the region in –
I believe so. That's right.
So, so Central would have been the 2. So they're in. Enterprise went on the road in round 1, so they had to have been at least the 3.
That's right. Yeah, I think they were. I'll pull the region standings up just to make sure, but I believe that game, ironically as it is,
I think were they the 4? Game. Were they the 4?
I think the Opelika game, the game that they lost against Opelika, I think dropped them down to the 4. I'm going to pull this up. Yeah, they were the 4.
Okay.
And Opelika ended up being the 2.
Yeah.
Remember? So it was Auburn 1, Opelika 2. Central Phoenix was the 3, and Enterprise ended up being the 4.
Oh man, you're in a tough region when Central Phoenix City is the 3 in your region. I mean, they just
coming off the state championship.
Won the state title.
Coming off the state championship.
I mean, Patrick Nix coaches that team. Yeah. He's coached. He's hoisted a couple blue maps.
Yep.
3 maybe. I know at least
3.
At least
2
one.
Two
two there.
Yeah, back to back at
2
Pinson
there.
Valley.
Yeah. So, anyways, he knows how to win. So, It's gonna be a fun little tournament there to see, and they will play next week, and then they will have kind of that extended time off because the championship games for 7A are on Wednesday of championship week.
And shout out to Patrick Nix because his son is also doing great things as well. We saw Bo Nix here
listen, man.
at Auburn for a while. Then we saw him at the Senior Bowl down here back in February, and now he's on pace to win Rookie of the Year in the NFL. So
honestly, dude,
Nix family having a really great football season.
I'm thrilled for him because it was tough times at Auburn. I'm not sure that anyone knew what his career was going to look like, and so hat tip absolutely to the Nix family what they were able to accomplish. All right, let's talk 6A really quick. We talked about Saraland. Let's rerun some of these highlights right quick. Pat, I promise, I know you're listening to the show, wanted to end, and as our producer behind the scenes, he kills it. I promise we're not going to go too much longer. But guys, we got to talk about Saraland, what they were able to accomplish. We're talking about all of our top-ranked teams really quick who were able to advance. KJ Lacey deserves more airtime in this show because, man, he is incredible. They looked just as good as advertised just all year long. There's a reason that Saraland is the top-ranked team. Right there, it was Lacey to C.D. Gill, and then one of the best throws that you'll see in high school football, man. He just effortlessly throws it. And one of the best catches you'll see, C.D. Gill able to just, we know that Jeff Kelly has bragged about C.D. Gill for so long. He was kind of that guy right behind Ryan Williams for the last couple of years, just getting things done kind of behind the scenes. And every now and then we talked about him. Now we talk about him every single weekend. Sante has been a regular staple in terms of what he's been able to accomplish on the ground. And so Saraland just absolutely killing it there. All three phases. They win a lot to not very much.
91-17. That is Saraland's points to their opponent's points in the first two rounds of the playoffs so far. You mentioned C.D. Gill. I think Ryan Williams took so much energy last year. Rightfully so. He's probably one of the best players in the history of the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
But going into this year, KJ Lacey said C.D. Gill is being slept on a little bit because of what Ryan and Dylan offered, both SEC, caliber players were able to do. And C.D. Gill has shown time and time again all season long that he's right. He battled some injuries last year, but he's been one of the main guys this year.
For sure. So Saraland's going to be at home against Spain Park, who is undefeated this season. They were one of the top ranked teams in 6A. Saraland's obviously been the top-ranked team, and I think Parker was right there earning votes. They've advanced, so they're on the other side of the bracket against Muscle Shoals. Oxford will play Fort Payne. Again, that's on the other side for the North. But in terms of the South, Pike Road beat St. Paul's at home. Really just a kind of a beatdown, and I hate it for us and the Saints here in the Mobile area, but 44-6 was the final there in that game. Obviously a statement win for Pike Road. And then Hueytown advances over Spanish Fort in a battle outside of Birmingham, 21-14 there. So the Toro season comes to an end. Pike Road, Hueytown will play. Saraland will host Spain Park next Friday.
Yeah, this is two great matchups in my opinion because you have two good offenses. You think about quarterback KJ Lacey. You think about what Pike Road was able to do to a really good St. Paul's defense. So that matchup against Hueytown next week, I think is interesting. And then I think all eyes will be on Spartans Jags over at Saraland Stadium.
Yep. Let's talk 5A really quick. I have to, of course, talk about the Viger Wolves. And just 3 short years ago, it was the Viger Wolves. It was John McKenzie. It was just one loss in the regular season that they had lost in the last week against a non-region team. And here they are again, man. Don't say you haven't seen it before because you certainly have. Vigo goes to Eufaula and really lays a smackdown with their backup quarterback.
This is a perennial team in Class 5A. Eufaula just consistently finds ways to make runs in the playoffs, but Viger said not today and came out big. This is their backup quarterback, Dylan Jackson, who has been sensational, replacing Sammy Dunn, who was obviously the transfer in from Bayside Academy. But this offense is absolutely rolling. Scored 43 tonight in a big win.
Yeah, and now they will get to host one and only Terry Curtis and UMS Wright, who played Andalusia for like the 700th time. Literally the 21st time in 26 years. And taking a look at some of these highlights here, obviously this is Max Fowler keeping this play live before he got killed to Bo Wills. The only touchdown of the game for these Bulldogs. Then the other Bulldogs would score their only touchdown of the game. The difference, though, for Andalusia is that they got the extra point block, so this game would end up 7-6 in a dogfight. Did you get it?
I did get it.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
But man, I'm pretty sure that just based on this run right here, Terry Curtis is really happy that they didn't go into overtime with this team because they've got some ballers over there. But shout out to UMS's defense for standing strong and these seniors that they know how to win. But they are going to have a tough task in this. And I don't even know what was the score of this game. You have that up or somewhere
I
that's
can pull
accessible?
that up really quickly. Yeah.
But it's going to be UMS Wright at Viger. That game, as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's going to get moved. I'm sure it'll be played at Viger's new on-campus stadium there in Pritchard. And so UMS at Viger in a game where I'm not really sure if we thought UMS was going to be in the third round of the playoffs.
No, I don't think that after this, especially week 4, week 5 of the season, back on September 13th, Viger won that game 30-14. So it'll be interesting to see. That game was at Viger. So.
And what I would say about that is that when you scroll down that list of scores there, Gerhard, if I'm Terry Curtis, I'm saying, okay, guys, let's believe in what we're able to do defensively, because then they proceeded to put up 40, 48, 40, 46, 41. I mean, those are sick numbers. And obviously UMS able to be right there in striking distance with a team that doesn't really match up with other Terry Curtis coached teams in terms of just talent top to bottom. These guys just work hard. They've been playing together since they were in diapers.
Yeah, and they've been going to state championship games as kids. They were the ball boys, and they were the managers of the teams that won state championship games. Now they're in the shoulder pads and in the helmets, being able to get it done. That 30-14, 14 points is the most points Viger gave up all season long to this point was by UMS right. So what adjustments will be made here? I think the Viger offense against the UMS defense, that'll be the matchup to watch.
And let's not forget that it was not that long in history before when Viger was the 4 in the 5A Region 1 standings.
That's right.
And on the field. And because of an ineligible player, they got bumped out, and UMS got bumped in. That was just last year.
Yeah,
and so, obviously that was Terry Curtis's 25th straight year going to the playoffs with UMS right. And listen, Viger keeps receipts.
Oh yeah,
they know that. They know.
Yeah,
that, I mean,
that's right.
And even though John McKenzie might not have been the head coach at that time, he keeps receipts. Yeah, I can promise you that guy keeps receipts.
You don't got to go far for motivation in this matchup.
There is no question. It's going to be a fun battle. Cannot wait for that game. So that is our teams for 7A. Obviously, Baker Falls, Saraland's moving on. It's our only team in 6A that's going to be moving on. In 5A, our only teams going on. They will meet in Viger and UMS Wright. In 4A, this is Jackson Aggies or bust, pretty much, if you're Jackson Aggie, in terms of how they feel. They feel very strongly that they have the best team in the state. They might still have the best team in the state. Cody Flournoy has told us this year, all I got to do is just send them out there. Send them out there and don't get hurt and just go play ball, because they got guys like Landon Duckworth and his hot sauce dance, whatever the heck was he was just doing there a minute ago after he trucked this dude into the end zone. So Zaxton gets a 51-0 shutout win in a top 10 battle against Bibb County. They are moving on. Jackson is going to play next week. They got, let me pull that up one more time real quick. Tallahassee. Okay, Tallahassee. And then on the other side of that game, or that bracket, I should say, is going to be none other than St. Michael, who went to Pleasant Grove, a historic powerhouse team, at least of recent memory in the last decade or so, and beats them in their first road round 2 game. Was it the first road playoff game
first road playoff win. Yeah, they lost to Hanley on the road last year.
Sure. Yeah. But so I mean, they're making all types of strides. Obviously, Noah Moss. You just think about Gunnar Rivers and just the guys that are absolutely playmakers for St. Michael. And so they will have to be road warriors though, because they are going to be at. Where are they?
Fairfield.
Okay. So they're going to be back in the Birmingham area to play Fairfield. And then, of course, we will see. Can they get it done? Can they meet Jackson at Jackson next week? We will see. That is in 4A. In 3A, it's T.R. Miller. And T.R. Miller feels like they are absolutely the team to beat. They're on a mission this year. But they're going to have a very, very tough task next week in Houston Academy, Gerhard.
Yeah, we heard in the comments that it was kind of a 17-11 there at the big game tonight. But this is a team that just keeps on finding ways to win, keeps on rolling. It's like finding ways to win. That's probably the worst description ever. They dominate people all year long, but today 121-7. They
found a way to beat the officials, according to all our people in the DMs. So.
So we'll see how that game next week matches up. A very good Houston Academy team.
Yes,
will come into
town. Look at those highlights. I mean, Thomasville was the 3rd-ranked team in 3A going into this game. Houston Academy, I think 9 or 8 or somewhere. It was top 10 matchup regardless. But Houston Academy, I mean. You just look at this. You just look at these guys, and I would just say, just looking at eye test, I watch a lot of high school football highlights, a lot of high school football in the last 15 years. They don't look like a 3A football team. These guys look like they should be playing 7A football.
Yeah, and Thomasville doesn't look like a 3A football team at times as well. So they did it. They put work on a very, very good Thomasville team. Big offensive line. They could run the ball. Gill and Johnson next week. I think the battle of probably two of the best running backs in the state here in this matchup.
Yeah, no question about that. So that is going to be a big one there in 3A. In 2A, the only team we had in it was Clark County. They lost. In 1A, a team for us that is moving on, Milry is moving on after they get the big win over Mackenzie at home. Right. Milry is going to be back home.
That's right. It gets Maplesville, one of the winningest programs in the entire state of Alabama. And then you mentioned on the other side of that, Georgiana and Elba. Yep. They're in a big matchup. We also don't want to forget that in Class 3A, Bayside Academy also moving on as well after a big win tonight.
I'm sorry, Gerhard. It's 12:30 in the morning.
I know. I just wanted to make sure if you're in the comments. We've been talking about them all night.
You know what, guys? Honestly, if you're Bayside, you're probably saying, Simone, you tell us every single week that we shouldn't have been here. And so this is me. And I listen, apologies from to the Admirals. I absolutely love this program. I love what Barrett Troutter's been able to do. They go down 7-0 in this game against Alabama Christian, and then they come back and they score like 27 themselves. And I think the final score 27-7, something like that. But they get it done on the road. And so yes, I do not want to forget anybody. Bayside will play Southside Selma, and cannot wait to see if we can get a local matchup there in the semifinals. That would be really, really neat.
Yeah, that would be awesome if we can get Bayside Academy and T.R. Miller battling back once again. That game was at Bayside Academy. T.R. Miller got the win, so projecting a week forward, just in case both teams win, that game will be at T.R. Miller, kind of a mirror of what we see in Class 4A with Jackson and St. Michael.
It's going to be so fun, you guys. This is what it's all about. We're going into the semifinals, the high school football season. What more could you ask for? I mean, there's people crazy enough to be up at 12:39 in the morning, at least 32 of you. One of them might be Pat over there watching the broadcast, waiting for it to end. Shout out to producer Pat, man. He is always hanging tough with us, even when it's late into the night talking high school football playoffs. But what more could you ask for? It's a little bit cold outside. We have just so enjoyed covering high school football for now, 14 weeks, 13 weeks? I mean, a lot of weeks, 13 weeks.
Yeah, 13 weeks.
13 weeks, because we have two more. And so, right? Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
It's a lot of weeks,
because we count, it depends if you count the 0.
11, 2, it's 13 weeks. Yeah. It's a lot of weeks. But regardless, it has been so much fun, and it's exciting to see just all the success of our local programs, all of the building for the teams that lost today, too. You think about Baker. You think about Citronelle being, winning a playoff game for the first time in 40 or 16 years, whatever it was, going to the second round. For Baker, it was the first time in 40 years winning a playoff team. So many coaches going in and just making progress and really bringing these communities together around high school football. Williamson doing impressive things there.
That's right.
In 5A as well. And so just want to tip your hat to all of our high school student athletes. It has been our joy to bring you what we would say is the best high school football show in the country. And man, it's so much fun at Hard Flex. But listen, man, I'm gonna advocate for our guys every single night of the week, because we have people that drive 90 minutes for 30 seconds worth of highlights, and that right there is how much we love those small town communities that just hang their hat on high school football.
Yeah, out every single Friday night, and we are too, and we'd love to be able to capture it. And we're back here again next week, and the field gets smaller, but local teams continue to represent, and that's what I love. Yep,
absolutely, guys. It has been so much fun. We appreciate you hanging there with us for the last hour or so for Fifth Quarter Extra, man. It's been so much fun. We cannot wait to look forward to the third round of the high school football playoffs. Several Region 1 area teams still in the mix for a blue map. A couple local matchups that we could possibly see going into the semifinals too. So we hope that next week, this time, we are talking about those matchups, man. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, we unapologetically, I say this every year, we unapologetically root for our local teams this time of year.
Amen.
And we want all local matchups, a bunch of local teams representing in Birmingham, bringing back blue maps.
Yep, cannot wait to see how these ones shape up as we go into round 3. Guys, thank you so much to all of our team here, producer Pat behind the scenes, everybody here at WKRG News 5. For Gerhard, I'm Simone, and we will see you next week.